There's no such thing as sight reading. And one of the great things about literacy and music literacy is it gives the students the ability to be self-paced and to take the workload upon themselves and to study and learn their own interests, where without literacy, the only information that is available to them is information that's provided to them by someone else. Once they become literate, they can go out and learn things on their own with no input from anyone else. Lots of times, friends and other music teachers, they'll hear some of my advanced students play and they'll say, "Hey, Dooley, how'd you teach that kid how to do that?" "Oh, I didn't teach him how to do that. I taught him to be musically literate and gave him conceptual understanding, and then he went out and figured out that on his own because he thought that was cool, and so he went out and did it on his own." A lot of times they come back and show me how to do things, because once they have this power to learn new information and pursue their own interests with no input from anybody else, they don't have to ask anybody for it. They can do it on their own. That's self-motivation, right? That's where they're going to get self-motivation. I don't need anybody else to get better at this point. They can, but if you're not literate, you have no ability to study on your own. You have no ability to check primary sources, right? You're always dependent. You're always dependent on another person for any new information you learn, because you can't do it yourself. I mentioned once before that when my kids were little, my children, my son and my daughter, and they were beginning to learn to read literature, to write, to spell. And I made a deal with them that I'd give them $5 anytime they read a chapter book. And at first they would read they'd read the book because they wanted the $5. But then they got really good at it, and they started reading because they liked to read. And once they started reading because they liked to read, they started pursuing their own interests. They started studying things on their own that they were interested in. My daughter's very interested in space and planets and stars, and we'll be driving around at night and we'll say, "Hey, AJ, what's that star?" And she knows what it is. I didn't teach her that. She figured, I encouraged literacy, and then she went out and studied on her own. My son is a math whiz. The kids and the teachers at school call him the engineer, and he studies advanced math. He looks it up and reads about it and figures out how to do it. Anytime we buy something for the house that requires assembly, I give it to my son, right? He can read the instructions and figure out how to do that stuff better than I can. He's 10, right? I didn't teach him how to do that. I encouraged literacy. And he went out and used that literacy to pursue his own interests, where without the literacy, he would have no ability to do that. AJ would have no ability to do that. She'd have no ability to study those things on her own. She'd only be limited to whatever information was provided to her by someone else. So, if you want students that are self-paced and motivated and progress at whatever speed and ability that their personal talents and work ethic allow them to progress, or if you're studying music and you don't want to have to come hat in hand to your teacher every time you need to learn a new piece of music or a new concept, you can study it on your own, well then, music literacy is the way to go. My name is Mark Dooley. I've been a private music teacher for 37 years, focused on practical theory and music literacy. If you'd like to hear more, follow me. If you like lessons, contact me. And if you can learn how to read words, you can learn how to read music.